Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Council of Elrond. In today's episode, we are going to be going through a short list of our favourite things in Lord of the Rings. We've both compiled separate lists, but we'd also love for all of you to get involved in the conversation. So please, drop us a message on Twitter at melon_heads or on our Facebook page, The Melonheads. That's melon with 2 L's. So let's begin this week's episode.
Sneaky little hobbitses.
Alright, Johnny, first question. What is your favourite scene in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, so for me, my favorite scene without a doubt is Boromir's death. The very first time I saw this movie in the cinema, that's the scene that really stood out for me. And now years later, when I go back and I watch any of the three movies, or if I watch them back to back, it doesn't matter. That's the main scene for me that always stands out and always gives me chills, gives me goosebumps. There's so many things that are done amazingly in this scene. The score is beautiful. The use of silence in the movie, in that scene as well, where the first arrow impacts, and it's such a loud impact, but it's so loud because just before the impact, all of the sound cuts out and it's dead silence, and you hear that impact of the arrow, and it stays silent for another few seconds, 5 or 6 seconds, and you can hear Boromir's labored breathing. You can hear you can see the hobbits and their faces, and there's the look of despair on their faces as well. And then the music slowly comes back in as well, and it's just
it's epic.
An incredible scene.
Earlier, like about 5 minutes in the movie, I think Boromir is kind of portrayed as selfish and even a bit corrupted, and you know, a casual fan would be like, "Oh, this guy, what an asshole!" And then suddenly he just jumps out of nowhere. Oh, what a boss!
Exactly, that's another thing as well. That just one of the scenes before that is when he tries to take the ring from Frodo. So you've immediately got this villain idea of Boromir in your head, and then just a couple of minutes later you're completely changing your opinion on Boromir because his just display of heroism, when first of all he gets hit by the first arrow and he knows basically he's going to die, but then he gets back up to his feet and he defends the other two hobbits, gets hit again, knocked down, gets up a second time and keeps fighting on, even though he knows that this is the end for him, but he's like, I'm going to fight on to try and do what I can to save these hobbits. And it's just incredible. Also, just like 2 minutes later, then when he's dying and he's speaking to Aragorn, and he repents to Aragorn about what he did to Frodo, and he's got complete despair. And then Aragorn gives him a bit of hope, and he's like gives him basically absolution. And just again, it's for me, that's all part of the one scene as well, where Aragorn speaks to him just as he dies, and that's just for me, without a doubt, the best scene of Lord of the Rings.
There's also that little bit of mistrust between Boromir and Aragorn as well. That's kind of in the back of your mind throughout the whole movie, especially just before that whole scene when they're going down the river on the boats and they're kind of looking at each other and they're kind of thinking, that guy, what an ass. And then, like, basically he's repenting to Aragorn.
You can see that Boromir's been jealous of Aragorn the whole time, since he finds out that he has noble blood.
Yeah.
And he realizes that he is basically a higher up than Boromir in the pecking order. And Boromir just isn't used to not being the leader. And so then he's been jealous of Aragorn all this time. And eventually at the very end, he kind of, when Aragorn says to him, our people, and he kind of makes it sound like he includes Boromir with himself as the same level. That's just a beautiful moment as well.
And as well, at the Council of Elrond, when Boromir is basically saying Gondor needs no king, and his final words are, my brother, my captain, my king. It's just complete, like, a lovely arc.
Yeah, exactly. It completes the arc perfectly. Exactly.
Right, so for my favourite scene, I've gone with the beacons. The music is absolutely epic. It gives me goosebumps every time. Yeah. The visuals, the scenery, all the mountains. They should play it on travel video for New Zealand because it's absolutely incredible. I love that scene so much. And it's probably the one that I'd show to someone who's never seen Lord of the Rings. I would show them that scene and be like, look, this is what you're missing out on. I don't know if that would get them to watch Lord of the Rings or not, but it would get me to watch Lord of the Rings 100%.
Yeah, that's the scene that makes me want to go to New Zealand.
Oh yeah,
it's what a scene that is as well. It's again an amazing use of the blend of the music and of the just incredible imagery.
Moving on, the score. What is your favorite score in Lord of the Rings?
So my main theme that I chose was the Ring Goes South is the name of the score, and that's basically the main theme from Lord of the Rings. It's just the most iconic sound. It's the one that's if you ask somebody what's the music from Lord of the Rings, everybody thinks of ba 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 ba. It's just an incredible piece of music, and Howard Shore does it so well, and he has actually just blends it into so many other parts of the movie that, like, when we see the Rohirrim, we hear their music, but then also he's got that little thing blended in there as well. So it's really, really an incredible piece of music. And also the part of the movie when we first see that is when the Fellowship have just been created and they've just left the Council of Elrond, and we see a lot of these really amazing helicopter shots of the Fellowship running through these amazing mountainous areas, and it's so beautiful. And then eventually we get this camera angle looking up at Gandalf as he just approaches the top of a hill, and he walks through, and we hear that music come in for the first time, and it's the first time we get our kind of shot of all the heroes all together.
Yeah, it's absolutely epic.
An iconic scene.
How many times did they try to film that shot? Like, everyone has to walk up to those rocks, put their hand on it, and look around and be like,
Yeah.
Wonder what they were looking at. Right. So for my favourite score, I've gone with Gollum's song, which is an absolutely beautiful piece of music from Howard Shore as well. Anytime he gets, some little girl or boy to start singing, you know that it's going to hit the fan.
These tears we cry are falling rain.
It conveys Gollum's feelings and emotions really well. Like, you just feel like something sneaky is going down. It's a perfect ending to the Two Towers, and just at the end of the Two Towers when the music's still going and you can see Mordor, and it's a real epic shot of like the fire and the eye of Sauron, and it's a really good song. It's a perfect song to finish the movie off.
Yeah, I really thought for a while about choosing that song as my choice as well, because it's an epic song. It's just so haunting, and so it almost makes you feel like nervous inside when you're listening to it, and it's got all the emotions of Gollum and Smeagol in that song.
Yeah.
It's just
it does make you nervous. It kind of, I think the first time I'm hearing that song, I was like, ooh, that singer, it sounds like they're going a bit too, it's like they're singing too close to the microphone or something, and
yeah, it sounds like they're off.
Yeah, it sounds like they're slightly off, and it's just got that kind of unnerving feeling to the whole thing.
Yeah, it's just an uncomfortable sound the whole way through that song. It's an amazing piece. Another amazing thing about that song is that it's so on edge and makes you feel so nervous. And you've got about 2 minutes of this feeling, and then suddenly towards the end of the song, Howard Shore just blends that into the Rohirrim theme, and it's just a completely opposite feeling, and it just feels so uplifting and so happy and so warm, which is really an incredible feat to be able to like just blend that seamlessly together, even though those are completely contrasting emotions.
Yeah.
So
he's incredible.
Really,
he's such a blender. Should name a blender after him. They really need to come out with some new blender, the Howard Shore.
I have to give an honorable mention to the Shire theme music as well, because as I said, for me, my favorite theme is the main theme, and it's the most iconic theme, but it's not one that I would put on at home when I'm just relaxing or something like that.
Yeah.
However, the theme from the Shire, is one that I would often put on just in the background when I'm chilling at home and I'm doing a couple of bits. I could easily put that on and have like I think there's like versions on YouTube of like 6-hour Shire theme background ambient music, and I've listened to every minute of them.
I don't know, when I like to sit back and relax, I turn on bum 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 bum.
You've never done a hard day's work.
So moving on to the next favorite, we have leader. Who would be your favorite leader?
Yes, my favorite leader. Again, it's a toss of a coin, because you've got so many good leaders. You've got, obviously, Aragorn is one of the main characters in it and is an incredible leader, and there's many reasons that he could get it. Theoden as well, for me, is such a fantastic character.
Yeah, he was a close call for me.
Yeah, Bernard Hill's portrayal of him is amazing. He just like steals the show every time he's on screen. But for me, there was only one winner, and it was going to have to be Gandalf. It's just, he's just such an incredible character, and I think Ian McKellen is he just absolutely smashes it.
Yeah,
He,
knocks it out of the park.
I mean, he's just clearly he's the wisest being on Middle Earth, basically.
I thought you were going to say on the Earth. Probably both, yeah.
Ian McKellen is the wisest being. So, I mean, he there's never a doubt in his mind. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's a doubt in his mind when he's at the 3 different roads in Moria when he had.
There is ever a doubt.
But yeah, there is one time a doubt. But he just, whatever he says goes, and it doesn't matter who he's speaking to. He could speak to a hobbit, or he could speak to the person who is in the, not the throne, but who's basically the steward of Gondor. Like, so when he's speaking to whoever it is, he just speaks with absolute authority, and that's just what a leader needs to be.
I love with Gandalf as well how everyone just looks up to him. Like he's in Gondor at one point, and all the Gondorians are there like, oh look, the White Rider, Mithrandir, he's here, and everyone just looks up to him as being, you know, when Pippin says, well, we got the White Wizard, like everyone just thinks he's such an asset, and everyone just loves to have him around. He's like your favorite grandpa. Okay, so for my leader, I went for Aragorn for multiple reasons, but I think just being the king alone would be the best reason for being the leader. He definitely the leader in his relationship. He wears the pants, 100%.
Yeah, he's in charge there.
Yeah, sure. And obviously when Gandalf is dead, Aragorn is the one that takes over officially, and just everyone looks to him naturally anyways. Before he even gets to the council, he's the one that advises Frodo and the hobbits of what to do, and they were so naive when they arrive first to the Prancing Pony. When they first arrive there, and Aragorn's the one that really just kind of goes, guys, you don't know what you're in for. Do you even know about these Nazgul boys, lads? You don't know nothing. So Aragorn is, I think for me, he's just, I could have gone for Gandalf as well,
but there's so many just amazing characters, and there's so, I mean, one small thing that I always really, really think is cool about Aragorn is the very first time that he meets Boromir, and Boromir asks him who he is, and he just kind of has the humility to say he's a friend to Gandalf.
Yeah.
And he's not just like, oh, by the way, you know, I'm in line for the throne of Gondor. Like that's
I'm your
not
future boss.
I thought like, yeah, he doesn't want to like say this is my name and I'm above you or whatever. He kind of almost gives the opposite thing. He's like I'm just a friend of someone. I'm not here for, you know. He just seems very humble in that moment.
He's very humble, and even at the point when Frodo offers him the ring, it's so easy to take it. And even if he wasn't being greedy, he could have been like, well, look, I'm a man. I'm in line to the throne of Gondor. I probably should take this, even though I'm not going to use it for my own selfish greed. But he believes that Frodo is the one that's tasked with the ring, and he's like, no, look, I'm giving this to you.
Like, it worked out really well for my great-great-grandfather, Isildur. So, I mean,
exactly.
Why wouldn't I get it?
Yeah, the same blood runs through him. Right, moving on to performance. What is your favourite performance in Lord of the Rings?
I don't want to make it boring, but I'm basically going for Gandalf again. Like Ian McKellen, for me, he's just an incredible actor, and he just has such an amazing performance in all of these movies. He just absolutely, like, he was Gandalf. There was no doubt about it. It wasn't like when you hear that Christopher Lee...
I was thinking that too, yeah. He was going to be Gandalf, or wanted to be Gandalf.
No, he wants to be. Yeah. Like, he's a huge Lord of the Rings fan. He said, like, all of his life he wanted to play the role of Gandalf.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he would have been a really, really good Gandalf. But if I'm just thinking about it now as him as that role, I'm sure it would have been good. But like, he was okay. He absolutely killed it as Saruman as well. But I mean, Ian McKellen's voice and just his mannerisms are just so incredible.
Like, Gandalf needs to mumble, and like, he's a mumbler.
Yeah, exactly. And he mumbles so well. There's no doubt about what he says. It's so clear, his mumble, but it's definitely a mumble. But then also, I mean, his performance as well. When I was thinking about who had the best performance, I mean, just immediately Ian McKellen will come to your mind. But then secondly, you have to think so many of his scenes. He shot so many scenes with the hobbits, and that's not easy to film. No. He's not filming with another person face to face there. A lot of those scenes are done with green screen. A lot of them are done with doubles and things like that. So it's obviously, as an actor, you need to play off the other actor, and you need to like get the energy from the other person. So he didn't even have that for so many of his scenes. So again, that's another reason why I had to go for Ian McKellen.
For mine,
Sir Ian McKellen, I should say.
Yeah, Lord Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
For myself, I kind of thought you would go for, which I thought was the obvious answer. I was going to say Andy Serkis, because I think his performance really it changed the game in terms of motion capture, and like it's probably the most iconic thing about Lord of the Rings. Gollum, his voice, his movements, even he I think he plays himself in some games. I know there's a game that's supposed to be coming out this year, and
Elves and men and orcs.
But for me, I actually said Bernard Hill. I love Bernard Hill. I think he's absolutely unbelievable in the 2 movies that he appears in.
Yeah, he's incredible. He's incredible.
He's so cool, and he just looks so wise, and I don't know, he plays the whole range of emotions with anger and wisdom, and I definitely think he's got the saddest death. I know Boromir is like ridiculously sad, but there's something about when he's just lying there all crushed, and oh god, I don't know. I think the fact that Aragorn doesn't weep like Éowyn does as well, that makes it sadder for me. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that is an incredible scene as well. That's a very great death as well, and what a performance. He just completely he owns the camera in every scene that he's in. Yeah. He's just amazing.
Yeah, brilliant casting for that.
Going back to what you were saying as well about Andy Serkis, I agree with you that's probably maybe the most important performance.
Yeah,
it's, as I would say, my favorite performance is by Ian McKellen, but maybe the most important performance was by Andy Serkis. I believe that if, for example, if any other performance wasn't exactly to the same level that it is, if Ian McKellen didn't perform so well, or if if a different actor had that role, it probably still would have been quite good, maybe not the same level. But if Andy Serkis didn't perform Gollum to that level, the whole trilogy would have just fallen flat on its face.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely incredible. And I've heard people calling him one of the greatest performers ever. That's debatable.
Yeah, no, I've heard that as well. And I think he deserves every credit. And he doesn't get the plaudits that he deserves.
No parent should have to bury their child.
So the next one was camera shot. So what would be your favorite camera shot from Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, so my favorite camera shot was the lighting of the beacons, and I think after you've already explained why that's your favorite scene in the whole movie, we don't really need to go into much more detail on that. It's incredible. And I had a second one. I had an honorable mention, so
you can honorably mention it now.
Exactly. Now that we've already discussed the lighting of the beacons, it would be the intro to the Two Towers, the very first scene where the movie opens up with a camera just flying through the tops of the misty mountains and through the snow-topped mountains, and the music is fantastic, but then also in the background we can hear Gandalf's voice, and then just as his voice gets louder and louder, the camera keeps flying through the mountains, and eventually it turns around and it flies directly into the mountain, and we go through the mountain.
So cool.
And then we see Gandalf on the bridge fighting against the Balrog.
And we get a little previously on the Fellowship of the Ring.
Exactly, but the way the camera just flies through the mountains and then goes inside the mountain is just incredible.
Yeah. For my favorite camera shot, I have chosen, well, again, there's so many. I think the whole trilogy, you could pause it at any moment, and right there is a desktop background. Everything looks cool. You could look at the ugliest Mordor scene and it just looks amazing. But I've gone for the scene where Sam says, "Look at that, Mr. Frodo, the king has his crown again." I don't know what to call that, but just that whole, it's only like 2 or 3 seconds where the music just ascends and you just feel really happy, and then it just gets really dark and the music goes down, the sun goes away, and you just feel awful again. And just in like 2 seconds, you have a range of emotions. You're like, oh, things aren't so bad, and you're like, oh no, Frodo and Sam have to go to Mordor and they're both going to die and the world is awful. And COVID-19.
That's so true. It's amazing. It's amazing how they play with your emotions in the space of a couple of seconds. Just the way the lighting and the music, like they flick a switch and immediately you go from this kind of uplifting, happy feeling, and then suddenly it's like, oh, it's doom and gloom again, and we're back to this horrible situation.
Back to the old grind, the ding dong of reality.
The king has got a crown again.
For the next one, what would be your favorite kill?
There's quite a few kills in Lord of the Rings.
There's one
quite
or
a few,
two, all right,
fantastic kills. There's one or two, and I think it's no secret to say that Legolas gets the best kills in the whole thing. Out of like maybe there's one or two guys that have individual epic kills. I think he's got the most like just ridiculous kills. Like he's got such. If there's a top 10, he's probably got 9.
Yeah, he does. He's probably got the top 10 biggest things as well with the Moomakil and the Troll, and yeah.
Exactly. So I think I had to go for, like, I mean, I could have thought outside the box and gone for like a random one, but I thought, as I said, he's got some of the best kills, but my favorite kill isn't going to be one of his best kills. My favorite kill, it's an extreme close-up of him shooting an orc that's kind of struggling with Aragorn just before
I know the exact
Boromir's
one you're
death.
talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Again, for me, I don't know why. When I think about a kill, a lot of these different areas. When you're asking me about like a score or performance, a lot of them it was like one idea jumped out to me at the beginning. I thought about it for another while. I thought about some other ideas, but in the end, I usually went back to my very first thought because I mean that's the first one that jumped out at me. So there's a reason for that. And this one, it's the way it's zoomed in on him, and also the sound.
Yeah.
It's a very unique sound of the arrow when it leaves his bow. And it doesn't sound like what you would imagine an arrow leaving a bow is like. But you're also kind of going, that doesn't sound anything like what I would imagine it to be. But that's also exactly how it would sound. And it's just, I don't know how to explain it any better than that. It's just,
no, you're completely right as well. When I was thinking about this, that was one of the first kills that popped into my head. I could have gone for it, but that exact kill where the noise makes kind of like, or the noise of his bow almost kind of pops. It's like a little fart before it leaves his bowstring.
Exactly. It's like,
yeah. My favorite kill, I went for. I don't think it's too outside the box because as soon as I thought of it, I was like, "This is probably one of the greatest kills of all time." When Éomer throws his spear right into the heart of the Haradrim captain, leading to the death of 2 Moomakil. Well, I don't know that they died, but they definitely struggled like upside down turtles for a while. But that was just epic.
That is amazing.
I think well, it's just because of the build up to that kill as well. You got this guy in war paint riding on this giant Moomakil. The camera keeps
he's the main guy,
and the camera is zooming into his face the whole time. And he's like, ooh, and he constantly.
Yeah, he looks like a complete psycho as well.
Complete psycho, and Éomer kind of lines up his spear, and he's looking at him for a while, and it's almost kind of like. One guy's in a bigger truck and the other guy's on the road and they're about to play chicken. And then he just lets that spear fly. And just the fact that it brings down the Moomakil is epic.
Yeah, it's amazing. But I watched that film recently again. And there was one thing that I noticed that I don't think I'd ever noticed before is that that's the first time that we see Éomer release his spear when the Rohirrim are charging the very first charge before the Moomakil arrive. There's a few scenes that it flashes to Éomer, and he's on his horse and he's got his spear raised and he's like, it looks like he's about to throw it, and I was like waiting for the payoff. I'm like, right, when's he going to throw it? And it just doesn't show him throwing it at all. And then like I don't know, however long later he's there, he eventually throws it. And you're kind of going, is that the same spear?
I don't think so.
Did he go back and pick it up or whatever? And it's like, I'm like, maybe he threw his original spear, but we just didn't see it in the end. So we finally get that payoff, and it's actually killing that main dude and the Moomakil and all the people on top of it, and then another Moomakil as well. And so
he must have a guy riding beside him that just has 8 spears, just like ready for Éomer to throw, like, because he's obviously got the best arm there.
Yeah, when I was watching it and it kept like flashing back to him holding his spear, it kind of reminded me of that scene in Braveheart, where
the swords keep switching.
Mel Gibson's running and he's got no sword, and it flashes away and it comes back, he's got a sword, and it comes back again, he's got an axe, and then his weapon keeps changing when it comes back to him. But thankfully they didn't change his weapon in all these,
because
we just never
Éomer
saw
has
the release.
at another point he has like some sort of 3-pronged like fork spear thing that he stabs into an orc in the same battle. Like, I don't know where he's pulling out all these weapons.
That's only good for killing 3 vampires that are huddled together, of course.
Of course there was some obvious mentions. Like, I could have gone with Gothmog, the Mouth of Sauron, Lurtz. Sorry, every single Uruk-hai that Aragorn punches at Helm's Deep. I think it's hilarious the way he's just swinging around a sword, and then an Uruk-hai would come up to him and he just like falls into one with his fist.
You don't have any friends. Nobody likes you.
Moving on. what would be your favorite speech in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, my favorite speech again. I'd two main ones that popped out, and maybe you're going to say one of them. So my one is Sam's speech when he says that there's some good in this world. Yeah, Ados Gilead, when he said that there's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for. I think that's the most emotive speech for me, and that's one that really stuck out for me as well. I mean, obviously, I thought of loads of really like get the blood pumping as well, like Theoden's speech before their charge at Pelennor Fields, and that's an incredible speech as well. But I think for me, the one that kind of really gives me shivers is Sam's speech, and it's just beautifully done.
Yeah, he was quoting Leo Varadkar as well. You heard that speech, right?
I did, yeah.
For me, I went for Theoden's speech. For this one, I just wrote down nothing fancy, just absolutely epic. The music, the view of the Rohan army as it zooms out, you're like, oh man, these orcs are screwed. And there's nothing more epic than screaming death as you're charging towards the enemy.
Exactly, yeah. Getting however many thousand people just screaming death. And he's there saying like ride for ruin and the world's ending.
Yeah.
And,
really
that's how I want to be led into battle there.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I thought. I thought that you might have gone for that one because it's just another one of the ones that's going to be on the top of anyone's list. So yeah.
Right, for the next one, I really like this. What would be your favorite minor character in Lord of the Rings?
Again, I can't think of one.
You better not say the same one I have.
Well, I've got three that I want to say, but I gotta choose.
Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli.
No, I mean, okay, I'm gonna say that. I think we both know what would be categorized as a minor character because I was gonna say
like a hobbit.
I'm gonna go for God. Who am I gonna go for?
Yes, get on with it!
So I eventually I went for Gamling. And I just think Gamling is an absolute legend. And I don't know, there's something about that scene where he's just like putting on Theoden's like shin guards and his football boots. And he's like, right, come on, I'm going to get you all set up there, king. And then Theoden,
the kit man, yeah.
He says, you are our king, sire.
Oh, man.
And I just love that part. But yeah.
I think it's from the memes as well that we find it so much more hilarious.
Exactly.
Well.
I do find it hilarious, but it's also, he really kind of gives Theoden that like bit of backing as well. When Theoden's he's so like kind of doesn't really know what's going on, and then Gamling tells him that your men would follow you to whatever end, and then that kind of gives Theoden that kind of like he's like, yeah, to whatever end. I love a bit of gambling.
I love a bit of gambling. Serious gambling addict.
Yeah.
For my minor character, this might be a bit controversial now, but I went for Ugluk. I just think he's such a badass. I love his accent. I think he's a likable guy. When the hobbits are stolen in the first movie, you're kind of like, oh, these guys they're the bad guys or whatever. But then when you see them for the first time, Ugluk is he's on their side almost because the orcs are trying to eat the hobbits, and he's like, no, they're not for eating. I don't know. There's something that I think the audience just like gets on the Uruk-hai side for the only time in all three movies, and I just think it's really cool.
Yeah,
he
seems a lot more like a leader, like a.
He's human.
Yeah, he's kind of like there's kind of like a human side to him as well. Whereas like you can see him being like a good leader of a group, whereas like the orcs are just. Like,
I think, but before that in the Fellowship, you don't really see any Uruk-hai speaking other than Lurtz saying Saruman, or like maybe one or two other lines, but it's mostly just like grunts and roars, and that's the first time where you actually hear one of the enemy speaking, and I just think he's I think he's a likable guy.
Yeah, and he's smart as well. He's really perceptible, and
I enjoy all those scenes that he's in, and I think that's worthy of being a good minor character. I really liked him in the movie.
Yeah, I almost went for one of the orcs that he has a bit of an argument with the guy.
Like,
they're fresh.
I also think that might be Ugluk's head that's impaled on the spear when the boys are coming to like find the scraps of the hobbits and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, he was the main guy, so he was like the face of the Uruk-hai. I had one more honorable mention that I wanted to say, which was one of the old hobbits that I don't know who he is. I don't know if he even has a name, but he's like an old guy that's out sweeping the road when Gandalf passes, and Gandalf lets off the fireworks. And he just seems like this old guy that's like absolutely miserable. He just like hates his wife and hates his life.
Oh, yeah.
And then he just like, but he secretly loves Gandalf's fireworks. And then he's laughing away, and his wife comes out, and he's like, "Ah, for feck's sake!" And he like his face just completely changes when his wife comes. And I just think that it's such a minor little detail, but it always makes me laugh whenever I see that guy.
How his face goes from happy to sad in like 2 movements of a muscle is incredible.
Yeah, but it's not even just sad. It's like his face is like the most despair I've ever seen. Like,
Nobody tosses a dwarf.
For our next favorite, we have location. So what would be your favorite location?
I went for the Shire.
Nice.
And to be more specific, the Green Dragon.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love a night out in the Green Dragon. That looks
We've been
like
in
so
lockdown
much
far too long. Like, we just need...
Yeah, I just need to go dancing on some table, barefoot, dancing on tables and singing and drinking. I don't know if it comes in pints in the Green Dragon, but like it definitely comes in some sort of size. So
Comes in half pints.
it's not to say, but sure, I could make do with that.
For location, again, yeah, I was thinking Hobbiton or the Shire could be one. I actually went for Rivendell. I'm surprised none of our answers are clashing with each other, which is pretty good.
Yeah, well, I had Rivendell as my second choice, really.
Okay, well, I had the Shire as my second choice, so yeah.
Right, well, there you go.
Yeah.
We're doing this quite well.
We're doing it well. So Rivendell, I didn't think it needed much explaining. Like, I feel like time is still for all the Rivendell shots. I think it's perfect for the elves. Anytime you're there, you just feel at peace, and I don't know, it's bright and colourful, and you just, when Frodo wakes up from his bed, I just thought of this now, but it looks like the comfiest bed you've ever seen. It's like when you're 5 and then you get to crawl into your mom and dad's bed and you're like, oh, these sheets are so much nicer than mine.
Yeah. The lighting in the room when he wakes up as well just feels like...
It's like summertime.
It's the summer, but this summer warm glow.
Yeah.
And for me, as I said, that was my number 2, because obviously the elves, Rivendell and Lothlorien, those are 2 places that kind of are a little bit similar, but Rivendell's got a much nicer feel about it. It feels more homely. And again, I think a lot of that has to do with Elrond's ring, his ring of power, because I think his ring of power gives him... Well, he's famous for being the greatest healer in Middle-earth. And I think I've read that one of his powers as having the ring is that he is able to kind of have this spell over all of Rivendell, that anybody who comes to Rivendell and stays there just feels this incredible sense of peace and is always just so well rested when they're in there and when they leave. It's just, it has, like, and it's amazing how they've really captured that in those scenes, those few scenes in Rivendell.
Yeah.
Narthwy noer, tolthwy virvor, oyanam van anethailvin.
Moving on, we have favorite beard. What would be your favorite beard in Lord of the Rings?
I mean,
there's so many.
There's so many, but for me, there's no doubt when I'm thinking of a beard, and it's got to be Theoden, because man, does he scrub up well when he goes from being this like 900-year-old man to suddenly 2 minutes later, it's like
you mean his younger beard?
like as in, well, his old beard transforming into his younger beard. It's like he's just been attacked by some Turkish barber who's an absolute like amazing professional, and just like gives him this insane trim. And yeah, like, I mean, we could go for like big wild beards and crazy beards, but his is so well sculpted. It's so kingly, and it just looks like, how does he keep it so tight?
I don't know. It's so yellow. How does he keep it so yellow?
Exactly. Without it going too grey or anything. He's like, for me, that's the perfect beard.
Not the beard!
I've got down from my favorite beard, Aragorn. I know it's not the biggest beard, but I actually went for Aragorn after his inauguration. You know, you see him throughout the whole movie. He's got like scruffy, he's got a scruffy, patchy beard. He just looks like a wild man. And then he becomes king. And then suddenly you're like, oh, look how majestic and mature and fatherly his beard is.
I'm surprised. I thought you were going to go for Gimli.
Yeah, or Gandalf. Like
Gandalf as well, but I mean, Gandalf just wins too many categories.
I know, yeah.
So I'm like, okay.
Every single one of these could have been Gandalf.
Sure. Even location.
Yeah, favorite location, Gandalf. Alright guys, that concludes another episode of the Council of Elrond. Thank you all so much for listening, it really means a lot to us. I hope you guys learned something new or enjoyed yourself, and if not, well, that's just too bad, but please leave us a 5-star review, subscribe, tell a friend, and share it on all social media. Have we missed something glaringly obvious? Do you have a better answer for one of these categories? We would love to hear what your favourite things are. You can reach us on our Facebook page, The Melonheads, or on Twitter at melon_heads. Remember, that's melon with 2 L's. Alright, well, we'll see you next time, and I bid you all a very fond farewell.